By Tara Bahrampour September 8 at 3:11 p.m. in 1942, a group of university professors, doctors, lawyers, and other black professionals in Washington, D.C. wanted to get together on weekends and play poker. But they had a problem. Not only did segregation in the district bar them from joining country clubs or other social organizations where men could gather, but the president of Howard University, where many of them taught, was a religious man who did not approve of card playing. So they started a monthly gathering in their homes and came up with a name to mask its true nature: the Brookland Literary and Hunting Club. Still going after more than 75 years, it is the subject of a project funded by the D.C. Oral History Collaborative, which trains people to record pieces of the city's history that will be archived in a special collection at the D.C. Public Library. The project's creator, Eve Austin, first heard about the club when her husband Doug joined it last year. Now 54, he was a couple of generations younger than most members, many of whom are in their 90s. That lent an urgency to Austin's undertaking. From the minute he told me about it, it was like, "Oh my gosh, they're still playing," she said. They started in 1940-something, and they're still playing? They were. Early members had included Matthew Whitehead, former president of Minor Teachers College in the district, who was also a consultant on Brown vs. Board of Education; William B. Bryant, the first black chief judge of Washington's federal court; and H. Minton Francis Sr., a high-ranking Howard administrator and one of a small number of African-American graduates of West Point at the time. Tom Taylor, 91, is chairman emeritus of the Brookland Literary and Hunting Club, a poker group that has been meeting for over 75 years. Photo by Doug Kapustin for The Washington Post. These were serious men, but they had very few options for relaxing and getting together and just recreating, Austin said. None of the current members were part of the original group, but as pioneering African Americans, they mirrored those men's legacy. Walter Robinson, 97, was a Tuskegee airman. Tom Taylor, 91, was executive director of the National Capital Child Daycare Association. They came of age when black people were not allowed to try on or return clothes at a downtown department store, and witnessed the district's transformations through the civil rights movement, desegregation, riots and gentrification. Now, they were seeing the end of another era, that of the club itself. Some of the men were getting too old to gather. A couple were moving to Florida. One, a loquacious life of the party, had had a stroke and didn't talk much now. Time being of the essence, Austin, a social worker turned oral historian, quickly set up video and audio interviews with as many members as she could. One died before she could interview him. On September 1st, she gathered with several in the basement of the Takoma Park Public Library in D.C. to watch the footage and ruminate about the club's past and future. Robert Best, 99, is a longtime member of the Brookland Literary and Hunting Club, a poker group that started in 1942. Photo by Doug Kapustin for The Washington Post. Waiting for the videos to start, Taylor, who joined the club 33 years ago, explained its name. It was literary, because of discussions we'd have, of the civil rights and so on. And it was hunting, because we played the cards, and you're always hunting for a good hand. There were two tables, the big table, where hundreds of dollars exchanged hands over 5-card stud, and the little table, whose participants played for coins or dollar bills and peppered the games with wild cards. Men would start at the little table and sometimes move up to the big one. As they got older and went on fixed incomes, some would move back to the little table. 5 current members and several family members joined Austin and her videographer, Kenneth Campbell, to watch the footage. Austin dimmed the lights and the men's faces bloomed on a screen. They talked about childhoods in the 1920s and 30s. They talked about careers, families, and politics. And they talked about poker. We've had great games, and there's never anybody who ran out of money because somebody says, "Here, take some more. Just take it. Give it to me when you can," said the on-screen James Butts, 85, who was also in attendance. It became an organization of people who are not only interested in an outlet for discussion of the issues, but also one of concern about each other. Radio host about lonely 95-year-old caller, "We've all got a bill in our lives." Jock Banks, 65, began coming in as a guest in the 1970s, when his father or uncle, both members of the club, hosted. After his father died in 2007, he was invited to take his place. "It felt good," he said, "like sitting in Dad's comfort chair." Tom Taylor's hand-typed invitation to the Brookland Literary and Hunting Club from 1985. Photo by Doug Kapustin for The Washington Post. In Austin's video, he spoke of his membership as a treasured legacy. "You get a lot of things from your parents, but when you get a social organization as part of your inheritance, it means something. And I like these guys. I like the gathering. I like the literary part. The older people had a nice tradition going. It helps me sort of, understand my dad, where he assembled his values, and who he looked to in terms of role models." As part of the D.C. Public Library's special collection, the footage will be available for future researchers, family members, and others to view and use, said Maggie Lemire, consulting oral historian and director of community engagement for the collaborative, which has funded 18 oral history projects in the past 2 years and holds classes for others who want to learn how to do them. "We want to capture the memories of people while they're still here to tell their stories," she said. Archival material collected by Austin includes copies of formal letters about club business, typed on a typewriter. From 1985, "Dear Tom, at the February meeting of the Brookland Literary and Hunting Club you were voted into membership in this fellowship." A schedule of events from 1995 included a literary period and a period of gastronomic diversion before the hunt began. Jim Butts, 85, is the current chairman of the Brookland Literary and Hunting Club. Photo by Doug Kapustin for The Washington Post. For the gastronomy, wives, or sometimes mothers, would cook. Many wives were also poker players who played alongside their husbands in other, mixed-sex, gatherings. Club members also helped their colleagues outside the game, sending get-well cards to each other's spouses, visiting each other in the hospital, contributing to endowments after they died. The meeting earlier this month had a bittersweet edge. Members acknowledged that in all likelihood, the club was finally fading out. "When you begin to hit 90, you begin to slow down," Taylor said. "The enthusiasm is there, but the energy's not there. I think we should keep it up," said Robert Vest, 99. Then he added, "I don't know whether I can or not." The problem wasn't just the aging of the group. Earlier cohorts had aged out and been replaced, but these days it was harder to recruit the middle-aged men who had traditionally filled in the gaps. "I think the appreciation for getting together is not there anymore," said Doug Kapustin. The younger generation, they play poker online or in the casino. Banks, who was in the middle of a move, admitted he had taken his poker table to the dump. It was all ripped up. He had kept his chips, though. This couple divorced in 1968. A half-century later they got married again, Taylor nodded. "Society does change, and we have to change with the times," he said. "The weekend now is busier than it ever was. There's so many things that you can do on the weekend, so I don't know. Should we take a break?" Bud suggested that maybe the group could meet less often, like every other month, or quarterly. Just to keep the genesis of the group together, because we all enjoy the interaction. At 65, Jock Banks is one of the youngest members of the Brookland Literary and Hunting Club. His father and uncle were members before him. Photo by Doug Kapustin for The Washington Post. That interaction